Hello and welcome to today's digital conference, which is focused on looking at leadership of digital learning. I'm so pleased that you can join us. My name's Ian Vosser and I'm one of the digital transformation specialists with Tablet Academy Scotland, working with Pam Curry and her team. We're coming to you from CoLab today, which is a collaborative working space in Alloa, and I'm really excited about the selection of workshops and the support channel that we've got available for you to be able to access across the day. So just to give you a little outline of what today's going to look like, we're starting off with a little introduction, some thoughts, a bit of a keynote from myself, and then we're going to move on to 4 workshop session times across the day. Each of these workshops has 4, 5 different things that you can opt into before we head to the support channel at the end of the day. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to ask questions, plenty of really great presenters who bring a real wealth of experience from across Scotland to be able to tap in and hopefully take something away. Let's first look at some information about Tablet Academy Scotland so you can understand what we're about and where we're coming from. So I want to start by taking a look back. And we'll look back at those very first few weeks where we found ourselves in a full lockdown situation. Everybody was at home. And initially, that was quite an anxious time. It was an unsettling time. People were focusing on their health and well-being and on keeping safe. But as time went on, there was obviously expectation for us as teachers to be delivering learning and also being able to access all the types of things we normally would that we would have in the classroom. But the change was difficult. It was really hard. And I know so many practitioners were uncomfortable in that time because they weren't sure what digital skills they should be using, what digital products were out there, or the best way to meet the needs of all their learners. In that very moment, that is the time when people started becoming leaders of digital learning. And I feel completely confident in that look back, that people were committed to trying to do the best for the young people that they work with. So that might be just providing resources that kept them going in a bit of a holding pattern, because we might be back to school, back to some kind of normality in the not too distant future, just to keep the learning moving, but not really progressing. And I guess there's a difference there between moving the learning on and really progressing with the learning. As the time we spent in lockdown extended, and we knew it was going to run pretty much until the summer holidays and potentially not knowing what was going to happen beyond that, we really saw practitioners start to shift what they were doing in terms of really focused on creating experiences that were designed to be used online. So what do I mean by that? Designing experiences to be done online. Well, when we think about some of the resources that we have in our classroom, and many of the resources we use are well-established resources that we've used for many years, and they're trusted resources. We can get them out and we can feel confident and comfortable that when we give them to young people, they're going to be able to give us the outcome that we're looking for. Well, those trusted resources didn't always translate to great resources to use online. We couldn't just take things we'd always used, upload them online and allow them to be accessed by young people. I know some people were receiving worksheets and then they were printing them off and trying to complete the printed worksheet. And that's great if you've got the right connectivity and the right devices at home to be able to download and print. But not everyone had that benefit. So I know as we spent more time looking at how we shaped the curriculum, more time planning, we became very focused on the outcome that we wanted young people to achieve. So being focused on that outcome and then taking the planning back to design the digital experience really helped us shape what we wanted the offering to look like, reshape the curriculum almost. So one of the really important things to have when you're planning is, yes, that clear outcome. What do I want the young person to achieve? But also this mindset that we're going to put everything in the cloud first. So whether you're using Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams as the home for the learning, it doesn't really matter. But the resources and the activities and the tasks and the assignments that you're putting on these platforms, that is what matters. So you want to shape tasks that can be done exclusively online and on the device that young people are accessing or connecting to the service on. So for some people, that unfortunately is just their mobile phone. And I know there's been a lot of work done nationally with devices being provided to hopefully reduce the number of young people. But certainly that early phase of lockdown when we were just finding our feet, lots of young people were learning on their phones. So having resources that are mobile friendly, so if they're accessing on a tablet or an iPad, it works just as well as if they're accessing on a Chromebook or a desktop PC. So that requires a shift in what we're thinking in terms of teachers. We need to have a cloud-first approach to the work that we're creating so that it can be accessed anywhere at a time of a learner's choosing. And that produced different challenges for us as well. So young people were handing work in at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We assume it was the learners, maybe it was their parents. And I guess that's one thing we'll never know who's actually doing the work. But this is where it's important that we still try and maintain strong relationships with young people, even when we're doing the learning through live lessons online, or we're doing the learning through something more asynchronous where we're putting activities up and then they're completing them at a time they're choosing. We want to keep that connection and that relationship. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at a short clip all about asynchronous learning and how it's helpful for you as a teacher. Asynchronous learning really provides young people with an opportunity to access learning at time that works for them. But let's look at what that learning looks like in detail. Well, I think learning that is accessible and engaging is really, really important. So when we're thinking about the types of resources that we're creating, this is where we're showing our leadership in the digital learning. If we're making sure it's video-based, or we're providing something that's very visual so that young people can follow a process or understand how something works visually, then that is going to really help with the on-screen digital experience. And if we've got visuals which can be engaging visuals, so they can then go into other visuals or videos or texts or snippets from magazines, then that provides a really rich environment. And we know there's lots of tools that we can use as teachers that allow us to create visually rich resources that are digitally very accessible. So it doesn't matter if they're on a mobile device or a big desktop PC, they're going to be able to get the same experience. But also accessible in the sense that if they have an additional support need, then the computer, the device that they're using, will be able to interpret, understand, explain, make more accessible to the young person so they can really engage with the learning. And I think there is a key. Simplicity in those digital resources is absolutely essential. I would always suggest that when someone is looking at creating a new digital resource, build it really simply first and be brave. Be brave and be comfortable to put it out to young people to get their thoughts and feedback on it early. The earlier you start putting out those simple, visually engaging or video-based resources, the sooner you'll start getting feedback from them. And as soon as you start getting that feedback and you start to see that they're engaging with it and they're actively interested, then you can start to build things out. So for example, if you're making a site and you've got some resources on it, well, start small. Feel comfortable that it's a simple site with just a few pieces of information on it and let it grow as their learning grows. And you'll find that these things can grow really quickly, but you don't need to have things finished before you put them out. Start small, start early, get it into the hands of the young people so they can start experiencing it. We also need to think about, as we're moving on from our asynchronous learning, to this ability to be able to feel comfortable in delivering live lessons as well. Live lessons are so important for helping young people keep a connection. And I know different local authorities and different schools will have different thoughts and positions about what the best way is to deliver a live lesson. Is that with the young people being able to interact? Is that teacher-led? Is that cameras on? Is that microphones on only? There's lots of things to consider. And my advice here is to follow what's going to work for the young people that you work with. You know the young people that you're working with day to day, and so you will know what is best for them in terms of what will work for them. And yes, there's going to be difficulties, and yes, there will be staff who will question whether it's necessary to have the camera on or whether it's appropriate. But if you think it's the right thing to do for the young people that you're working with, and if you think it's going to help you continue to build that connection, keep that relationship going, then I would say it absolutely is the right thing to do. And even if there's challenges, then we need to find ways to do it. Let's have a little look all about live lessons. So through all of this, whether it's been a live lesson or an asynchronous lesson, we're showing ourselves to be leaders of digital learning. You can use that term. You are a leader of digital learning because you have engaged and worked collegiately with your colleagues to create digital experiences for your young people. You've also engaged with career-long professional learning based on digital learning because you're here now watching this presentation, but also hopefully joining us for the workshops across the rest of the day. So I think in terms of giving yourself that badge or that title as being a digital leader, you've already proven yourself to be one through the activities that you've already taken. And I think you need to be comfortable in that title. Even if you think some of your digital skills aren't that great, even if you're doing some live lessons and they're not always working so well, or even if you're putting some work up on the classroom and then you're having to go back and make some adjustments and some tweaks so everyone can access it. All of those technical problems are absolutely acceptable and everybody experiences them. You cannot be expected to be an expert in every digital platform and for everything to work seamlessly all the time. Sometimes, as we know, the technology can let us down. But what you are demonstrating is that commitment to shape learning using digital tools. And you are working with other professionals across your school, but probably widen that across your local learning communities and through days like today with teachers from across the country. And that is what is demonstrating the development of the leadership of digital learning. What I'd like to leave you with, though, is a thought about how you can take that digital learning leadership one step further. At the moment, you're focused around keeping the relationships going, moving the learning forwards, ensuring young people are progressing, they're getting good feedback, they're being able to access a pretty normal learning experience. But when we start to return to a different kind of normal, because I think it will be a different kind of normal, what we want to do is make sure that we're empowering the young people who we work with to be the young people who are going to lead what the digital learning looks like. And just because young people are really good with technology, because they've all grown up with mobile phones and tablets and computers and that kind of immersed in that digital world, they still need to learn key skills to be able to get them being digitally literate. They need to understand those criticality skills so that when they see something online, they know whether they can trust it or not. They're going to need to be able to develop those skills of collaboration so that they can work together with other young people to be able to create a better world for all of us in the future. So we're going to place a lot of pressure on these young people for when they grow up to really change and improve the world for all of us as we grow older. And we do that by supporting them, by encouraging them, and by creating a space for them to be able to create digital experiences and lead the learning themselves. So just as we talk about leadership of learning in the classroom, just as we talk about leadership of learning for young people across a school, we also now need to make sure that we are getting young people to lead the learning across our learning communities as well. And that's going to be really interesting to see how that progresses over the next couple of years. But coming back to here and now, I've spoken about how you've worked with your colleagues collegiately to improve digital learning experiences. And I've also spoken about the professional learning opportunities that you've engaging with today, but I'm sure you've engaged with other professional learning opportunities. We're really fortunate at Tablet Academy Scotland to have partnerships with both Google and Microsoft, and we can offer professional development programs to be able to support you and your colleagues. Here's a little bit of information about some of those programs. I really hope I've given you something to reflect upon, a little look back at some of the digital experiences that you may have already created or been through, but also just sparked a few ideas to consider what your plans might look like for the future. I think whether you're right at the start of that digital journey and you're still feeling uncomfortable and a little bit unsure about what your digital experiences might look like, or you're building really immersive, engaging and enriching experiences for your learners, you're doing a really great job. And you need to remember that you're doing a good job and you need to keep doing it. Every small piece of work that you do is going to make a difference to a young person's life. And that's really important to remember. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep trying new things. You are a leader of digital learning because you have engaged collegiately with your colleagues to create digital experiences for them. You are a leader of digital learning because you're engaging with career-long professional learning to expand your knowledge base, to be able to create new experiences and do things differently. You are a leader of digital learning because you are going to be able to work with young people to empower them to be digital leaders so they can lead the digital leadership across your school. This is something that is growing, and it's growing incredibly fast. We're all learning together and we're sharing our ideas. I really hope the workshops today provide some useful tips and tricks that you're going to be able to take away, as well as also some time to be able to reflect and consider how you can improve and how you can take your digital agenda forwards. The workshops are staffed by absolutely excellent practitioners who are all based in Scotland and working with the technology, so they understand some of the difficulties as well as its true power. Remember to get in touch with us at any point throughout the day or in the future to be able to ask questions, but all that's left for me to do is to wish you well and enjoy your day.